Welcome back to Talking Winter Ops. I'm Rick Nelson, and I'll be your host for the 2025 National Winter Maintenance and Road Weather Briefing Series. This is our opportunity to catch up with our partners in winter maintenance and road weather to find out what they've been working on this past year and what they're planning for the future. These briefings are a way to see if their work might fit into your operation. But before we get started, it's important to give a shout out to the briefing sponsors, starting with the AASHTO Winter Weather Management Technical Service Program, who sponsors Talkin' Winter Ops. Their parent AASHTO committee, the Committee on Maintenance, and their close ties with the Maintenance Operations Technical Working Group, and of course the state DOTs, whose yearly contribution to the Winter Weather Management Technical Service Program make all this possible. So sit back and listen in on this winter maintenance and road weather briefing. Sean, you're the project manager for the pooled fund study and know all there is to know about what's happening these days with the maintenance decision support system.
Well, thanks for inviting me today, Rick. It's a real pleasure to be able to talk about the development of Maintenance Decision Support System, which is a pooled fund study, TPF 5347. And I was going to be presenting with Dave Huft, but we have some technical difficulties. But Dave is the South Dakota DOT ITS program manager. South Dakota is the lead state for this pooled fund study. And DTN serves as the lead contractor for this pooled fund, and I do serve as the project manager. So I'm here to tell you more about what we're doing.
All right, outstanding.
Okay, hold on. There we go. So this pooled fund study has been going since 2002, so that is already 23 years. It was started by the states of Indiana, Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, specifically to develop a maintenance decision support system. And over the years, it's really evolved, and there is a platform of MDSS that is used by quite a few states in the U.S. This map shows that we currently have 9 state DOT members in the dark blue, but 21 states overall have participated over the last 23 years. Any state agency can participate. It's a $30,000 a year membership that's paid for by state research dollars. We meet twice a year in person to talk about what's going on. And this is a change from before. We've made some significant changes to our meetings and only meeting 2 times a year instead of 3. But our last meeting in May, 3rd week in May, was really very successful. The changes have really paid off. So that's one really fun thing to talk about during this presentation. So why was MDSS needed? There are a lot of different reasons, and these reasons still exist, but in the beginning, the rising demands of travelers and high cost of all of the operations with constrained funding, and that does still continue. Reliable and timely road conditions are hard to obtain. Weather conditions are very, very variable, and they're changing, and information on those conditions is difficult to anticipate. There's complex responses and new ways to respond to treating the roadways, improved materials, improved techniques, and environmental concerns have to be considered because that is affecting our fish population, our waterways, etc. But also too, and even really more recently, the staff size turnover and inexperience is accelerating through the staff of DOTs. So MDSS helps with all of these issues, as you will see as we go over this presentation. So what is MDSS? Basically, it's a model that's looking at the roadways and taking into consideration the road characteristics, the current conditions of the roadway, predicted weather, the physics and chemistry of water, ice, and chemicals, and the available resources to treat any adverse weather conditions. The model is quite complex, and it's been developed over these 23 years to be very specific about what treatments will work to bring a roadway back to the level of service desired by the DOT. So it's able to give a treatment type, application rate, and optimal timing of application for those treatments, and predict what the future road condition will be with or without the treatment. So in this particular graphic, you'll see all of the aspects the model considers. Any of the blue arrows are how the adverse conditions or precipitation is removed from the roadway, and that could be traffic or runoff or plowing or chemicals, or even the weather itself, warming the pavement and evaporating those adverse conditions. And the red are heat considerations. So the model, again, is very, very complex and is able to tell what that road condition is after MDSS recommends treatments. I'm sorry. Basically, the MDSS is looking at the entire winter maintenance operation during the decision-making life cycles. So even pre-season planning through climate type predictions on what the weather is going to be like. But specifically, once an event is on the horizon, predicted to happen, and cause problems along a roadway, planning tools can be provided and events can be planned for by the DOT, getting people ready, getting equipment and materials ready, but then making tactical decisions during the event, recalibrating mid-event to see what's working, what's not. Has the forecast changed? Is there anything else to do? How to get that roadway back to a level of service that's been set by the DOT. And then there are many tools to look at the storm afterwards, what was done, and maybe what could have been done better through reports, through saved storms, and scenario analyses. This is what MDSS looks like on a laptop or a computer screen, and it gives a lot of information, alerting on the left side, a map with routes, cameras, and actual moving vehicles. Plows in action are in green on the screen, and then individual information from each operative truck that is out on the roadway on the right-hand side, and you can see what that truck is showing with the instruments on the truck, including camera images. So MDSS is taking in information from AVL systems, from spreader control systems, knowing exactly what's happening at the truck level on the routes that have been identified by the DOT, and providing information directly to the truck, and even accepting information back from the operators as to whether the treatment was considered acceptable or not, and information about weather and road conditions if MDSS has not modeled that correctly. So this is available in also a mobile app and in vehicle systems, and it's being used currently by 19 state DOTs. And lots of cities, counties, even traffic management centers and universities are using MDSS, so in different ways it's providing value. The main purpose of the MDSS Pooled Fund study is to develop, maintain, and enhance this MDSS application. But in order to support this, we are also doing a number of tasks that are looking at new technologies or additional technologies to support MDSS in new features and ways to grow, and also better ways to communicate the information and make sure people are trained to use this technology more effectively. So one of the things we do with all of these different tasks is look at other research in the industry. So we're looking at Clear Roads, Aurora, TRB, anywhere we can get more information. The purpose of this research, our particular tasks, is to enhance MDSS, but we want to be well connected with other research so that we are aware of what other people are doing, as well as be able to contribute to their research where we combine. So we are always having an open invitation that if you would like to collaborate or talk about related topics, we are very, very interested in working with you. The first task that I will mention is our assessment of recommendations. I know we've talked about this before, and it's been going on for 13 years to get information directly from operators and supervisors and managers as to whether the treatment recommendations from MDSS are acceptable or unacceptable, and why. So actually over the last 13 years, we are consistently getting about an 80% accept rate, which is showing the value of MDSS. The 20% of the declines, though, are extensively analyzed by various members of our team. And in this case, Bob Hart from Road Weather Research, Inc., he's a contractor for the program as well. He has determined that accuracy of current road conditions, or I should say inaccuracy of current road conditions as MDSS presents them, accounts for 60 to 80% of the declines that we receive from operators and others. Okay, so that gives us a really good idea of where we might want to put our efforts, and you'll see that in some of the other tasks that we have. How do we get those road conditions more accurate? We also have a lot of clues that MDSS might not be set up correctly, or the weather and pavement condition forecasts may need tweaking, model design maybe needs upgrades, all kinds of other things. We get a lot of information from this program, so we expect it to continue. We have recently started looking at analyzing these accept and declines by weather type. And this is some analysis provided by Emil Juni of Wisconsin DOT, who is a member of our subcommittee. And we're starting to see some interesting results that freezing rain is pretty tough. That's one of our hardest areas, and we're going to be looking at that with MDSS. Surprisingly, blowing snow got almost a 90% accept rate, and that is interesting, but we will also be looking at that too, how to get it better. I also wanted to note that data from MDSS is available to be analyzed in other systems, and this is an example of how Nebraska DOT is looking at not only MDSS recommendations and what they actually did, but they're also analyzing the acceptance of recommendations. And in this particular screen, it's 77% of accepts and 23% of declines, but they're using a Power BI dashboard fed by data from MDSS. And Mike Madison is the lead from Nebraska DOT on this analysis. Another area that we've spent some time looking at is friction data, friction or grip data from sensors, either static or mobile. And this is one of the areas we wanted to investigate over the last couple of years to see if we could get better road condition information for the MDSS model. And in this picture, MDSS is able to display the readings from these sensors, in this case a mobile sensor on a plow truck, and you can see that there's varying levels of friction shown throughout the route that this truck traveled. Benefits are that information, friction, grip, or other things captured by these sensors show specific locations along a roadway, and they can identify hotspots, or they can also identify performance after treatment. And they are also collecting information that is language that MDSS speaks. Let's say the model needs the depths and types of precipitation on the roadway, meaning depths of ice, snow, and water. And that's the language that it speaks, and some of these sensors do provide this information, and we're going to continue looking at that. However, there's been a lot of challenges. First of all, friction grip is a calculated number, and that can be different by vendor. the standards are not set for these types of sensors, and so that would present a challenge for us to take this data in. Also, road conditions can be very different based on simply a friction grip value. So 0.5 could mean icy, slushy, snowy, wet, very wet, and MDSS needs more information. But also, too, the coverage along the roadways by each DOT can really vary. Some have just a couple of these sensors, some are more equipped. Unless you have full coverage, it's probably not going to provide as much value as we would like. So we may continue this task going forward to see what else we can do with it. Level of service, as you heard earlier, is a key determinant of what MDSS needs to do for the roadways. Rural versus urban can be very different within a state. Also, too, some states don't have overnight service, so level of service needs to be very, very specifically stated for MDSS to bring the roadway back to that level of service in the appropriate time frame and at the appropriate level. We needed to look at this because MDSS may be a little bit confusing as far as how level of service is defined, maybe too technical for the people that are using it. And we're looking at this and changing things and analyzing individual state DOT networks to make sure that DTN is tuned to provide what they expect. Also, too, forecast verifications are key to providing a valuable service. If the forecasts are off, the service is not going to be able to provide good treatment recommendations or information on road conditions. This is tricky. Coming from a weather and pavement forecasting company, I can say that you can never be 100% accurate in forecast verification. But looking at what happened versus what you forecast helps you understand more about how to make improvements. So this is one aspect of MDSS that will be continued in future. I want to spend a little bit more time on the liquid de-icers topic or task. And this is one of the places where we made a lot of headway this year. The goal for this task, goals and objectives, were that we want to ensure that MDSS effectively supports the use of liquids in agencies that are using them. And to make a point, MDSS has supported liquids for many years, but there are changing materials and changing properties and changing ways to apply them that we need to make sure we support. Verify that MDSS accurately recommends these liquids, really promote training because that's essential in the use of liquids. And we also, at some point, want to consider agency and public acceptance of liquid de-icers. We haven't quite done that yet, but that's still on the list. We sent out a survey to anybody and everybody we knew, and we got responses worldwide to learn more about how people are using liquids and where they want to focus in the future. So that was one of the first things that we did in this task force. We did send the results to the people that participated, but if anybody else is interested in the results of this survey, please let me know and I will get them to you. One of the other things we decided based on the results of this survey is that there are some gaps to what we know right now about liquids and how we want to use them, specifically in MDSS, but just as a whole, as a maintenance operation. So we took it upon ourselves to write an NCHRP problem statement and really dig into this, and Dave Huff was essential in this process, and in fact he submitted the NCHRP problem statement called Protocols for Evaluating Liquid De-Icer Properties and Performance. He submitted it under South Dakota DOT. The objectives were to get more objective field performance studies to understand how both organic and inorganic liquids perform out in the field. And in the literature research, we know that's going to be tough. that's going to be really tricky. It's been tackled before, but there's more to do. So that's one aspect. We also want to get a better identification of chemical and physical properties of all liquids, organic and inorganic, and further define and demonstrate laboratory test protocols. And there are some out there, but we think there's more work to be done. Well, this problem statement was actually assigned a project, and it's going to be project number 10-147. We requested $750,000 over 3 years. We'll see what is actually assigned, but we're actually looking for panel members, tech panel members, to participate in this project. So we're really excited about this. We think it's going to move MDSS forward. We think it's going to move liquids in general forward as treatments. The other area we've spent quite a bit of time is talking to vendors. And we have 6 properties, chemical or physical, that are required by the MDSS model, and they're listed here, to make sure that we are able to model it in the best way and offer it as treatment recommendations and know how it'll work. Some of the liquid vendors consider this information proprietary. So that's tricky, but we have a solution in that we can put together basically non-disclosure agreements so that vendors can feel safe in bringing this information to DT, and it will only be used for specific customers in MDSS. It will not be made available to anybody else, but it'll also promote the use of their materials within MDSS, used now by 19 states. So we think this is going to be a win-win for many people. We've already started discussions and have a couple of agreements signed. And we also invite you, if you are a vendor, to talk to us about this and know that your proprietary information will be protected, but then your materials will be modeled in the best way possible within MDSS. Another task is training and development of a comprehensive training curriculum. Training is crucial for MDSS. This is a very, very complex technology. It does take understanding and training to use it. And training is different for people that are managing the operations versus the operator that's doing the actual treatments. So we've spent quite a bit of time over the last couple of years really shoring up the training for this technology, and this will be a continued task as well. The last task that I wanted to tell you about is we did look at probe OEM crowdsource data as a method to get more information about those road conditions that we had talked about that are so critical to the MDSS model. And this was a little bit of a harder task because we didn't end up actually obtaining any data, but we did coordinate with a lot of the providers of the data and a lot of the studies that are out there right now that are looking at this data. The pros are that a lot of people are using this data in traffic management centers, and a lot of companies are providing this data. And weather and road condition can be inferred in some cases, but specifically for MDSS, we found some barriers that we're going to have to overcome. We're probably not going to move forward with this task right now, but all of our research is archived and we will come back to it when it makes sense. But there's a high cost right now to obtain this data, even for testing, and it may not be as accurate, location specific, or detailed or timely enough for MDSS usage. So as it becomes more prevalent, that may change. Right now, availability is reduced during severe weather because hopefully more people are staying home and not driving their cars and not providing this type of information, but that's when the need is greatest for MDSS users. And we did determine that the level of effort to integrate this data would be very high, so that also indicates cost. So we are probably going to park this research, but are still interested as this changes and grows in the future. we've done some basic work and we can pick it up at any time. The MDSS Pooled Funds Study works on 2-year work plans, and we are going into phase 14. The group did an ideation session at our last meeting at the end of May, and a lot of ideas were generated, but we are going to be modernizing the MDSS platform. There were a lot of ideas to improve the model MDSS uses. We are going to look at AI and machine learning, which is already being used to a certain extent, but we want to really make this faster and keep working with how does this help us provide a better solution, an easier to use solution, and help us, as everybody else is doing, right? AI and ML are the buzzwords, but we're paying attention to this. We're going to continue several of our current tasks, the more valuable ones. And another area that really stood out in our ideation session is the need to connect with other related applications. Internal analysis, performance measurement, traffic management, new technologies, even drones came up. So we're going to be looking at that, voting on what we're going to be doing next over the next 2 years, and should have more information for you next year. The benefits of participating in our group is that it's leading edge R&D, and it's jointly led by the group as well as DTN as the consultant. It's a convenient funding mechanism through state research programs, low risk deployment, because you have a lot of support from other people, and really the learning, the networking, the collaborating with all of the other participants. The intellectual property is jointly owned by the contractor in the states, and it's really a nationally prominent forum to advance maintenance decision support systems technology. So that's what we had for you, Rick. This is how to get a hold of Dave or myself. And there is a website as well with more information.
Outstanding, Sean. Boy, you guys are doing an awful lot of work out there with respect to MDSS. It's pretty impressive.
Well, we appreciate you having us on, and thanks for all of these briefings. They're really helpful for many groups.
So, Sean, what we'll do is in the show notes, we'll put Dave's email address along with yourself. People can find the presentation that you were referring to, so they'll be able to click on that and follow along with the slides. Again, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to fill us in on what's going on.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity, Rick, and hope to talk to you soon.
You can listen to all the briefings and other Talkin' Winter Ops episodes on our website, talkinwinterops.com, or wherever you get your podcast content. Video versions are available on Talkin' Winter Ops YouTube channel, and if a slide deck was used during this briefing, it's available through a link in the show notes, along with the presenter's email, so you can reach out and get more information. Thanks for listening in, and until next time, stay safe out there.